हरि ओम। ओम श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम रीडिंग the book Hindu Culture and Introduction, written by Param Poojya Guruji, Swami Tejomayananda ji, page number 186, part 4, chapter number 18. All this happened because Kunti could not admit that Karna was her son. Of course, we can understand the social pressure she was under to conceal this fact. But one must weigh the consequences of hiding the truth against one's own personal benefit. History could have been different if she had told the truth. Just before the war started, Kunti finally revealed to Karna the truth of his birth. This was done to undermine Karna's will to fight Arjun, as she did not want Arjun to lose against Karna. Karna thereafter could not fight the battle wholeheartedly. Duryodhana and Dushasan. Just as there was great love between the Pandavas, there was also great love between Duryodhana and Dushasan. Dushasan would follow him in whatever wicked plan the elder brother had. Yes, Dushasan rose above his individuality, in a sense, but only for the sake of his wicked brother. This shows us that loyalty is good and meaningful only when it is for a noble cause or towards a noble person. Otherwise, otherwise it is useless and creates problems. Thus, we find on this large canvas of the Mahabharata the innumerable intrigues and conspiracies of the royal palace, how the human personality reacts when insulted or dishonored, and how the mind dwells upon it and seeks revenge. Shakuni Shakuni felt very insulted when the elders of Kuru family approached his father, the king of Gandhar, with a marriage proposal between his sister Gandhari and the blind Dhritarashtra. Shakuni thought, how dare they ask my sister to marry to a blind man? Because the Kurus were physically and politically powerful, Shakuni agreed to the marriage, but in his mind he vowed to destroy all the Kurus. As we can see, each character in the Kaurav camp was bent upon destroying someone, each playing his own game for his own purpose. Subsequently, the Kauravas were all split within themselves and amongst themselves. Yudhishthir. Yudhishthir, as noted before, was a very good person, but he had a weakness for playing dice. Consequently, he was later trapped by Shakuni and others in the dice game. See how even one small weakness ends up in disaster. Another lesson of the Mahabharata is that the policy of appeasement does not work. Though Yudhishthir should have become the crowned prince of Hastinapur, Duryodhana wanted the whole kingdom for himself. For the sake of avoiding war with Bhishma and others, and because Vedvyas had warned Yudhishthir to beware of the Kauravas, Yudhishthir agreed to split the kingdom with Duryodhana. But did the problem get solved by sharing the kingdom? No, appeasement does not work, especially when other person is evil. Duryodhana was greedy for the whole country. There is a common saying, even if you feed milk to a snake, the snake remains poisonous. He does not thereafter spew milk, but only poison. The milk itself will turn to poison. Therefore, even Yudhishthira's forgiving of the Kauravas and yielding to their demands did not did no good, only harm. Bhishma Pitamaha also had his weaknesses, but he did not justify his faults. At the end of his life, he knew that each arrow in his bed of arrows represented an occasion when he had followed adharma. Swami Chinmayananda says that Bhishma is the real hero of the Mahabharata story, for the whole epic begins and ends with him. He served Dhritarashtra and he never did anything for his own enjoyment. He was a devotee of Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavata, it is said that as Bhishma lay on the bed of arrows, Lord Krishna said to all present, "Here is a great soul. From him you can earn dharma in its entirety." Bhishma had a boon that he could die only when he so wished. He wished to die in Uttarayan and in the presence of Lord Krishna. When the Lord arrived, he said to Bhishma, "Not only should you chant my name, but also fix your mind on me. See me with your eyes and merge in me." Bhishma taught the Pandavas lessons on dharma, and the Lord relieved the dying man of all pain so he could teach. At this time, many great people honored Bhishma, and even the gods showered flowers. Fixing his mind and his gaze on the Lord, Bhishma breathed his last. The cause of righteousness. We should read the Mahabharata and reflect on it. We will then see these same contradictions, problems, and struggles in our own mind and lives. Sometimes, like Yudhishthir, we have good motives, but having good motives alone is not enough. Some characters had strong personalities, and though essentially good, they fell short of achieving the greater ideal. Some, on the other hand, were positively wicked, like Duryodhana. Interestingly, both the Kauravas and the Pandavas were grandchildren of Vedvyas. He remained always detached in this whole situation and thereafter wrote the history of his own family. The Pandavas won the war because they were on the side of Dharma, and so Lord Krishna was on their side. Whenever there was a question concerning Dharma, the Lord was there to explain and interpret it properly, and the Pandavas readily followed his advice. On the Pandava side, there was no divided loyalties. All had total loyalty and full conviction in their cause. This is how they were led to victory by the Lord. In short, when the society is good, but the individual puts himself above dharma, the individual brings himself to destruction. If society as a whole is bad, the individual who stands up for dharma becomes great. Therefore, the cause of righteousness is most important and should be put above everything else. This is an important lesson we learn from Mahabharata. Chapter 19. The Puranas. Our last topic concerns the category of scriptures called Puranas, otherwise known as mythology. This literature is much misunderstood by those who have read either little or nothing of it. Some people say that the Puranas are nothing but fictional stories. When we read them, the question of whether the stories are factual or imaginary always arises. Let us begin by stating that they are not imaginary. Earlier, when we were discussing the Itihasa, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, we observed that the theme of the Vedas was demonstrated through the Itihasas and the Puranas, and that their theme and purpose is the same to reveal the absolute reality. The literal meaning of Purana is ancient, and the self Atman is also called Purana as it is most ancient one. It is not ancient in the sense of old. Our idea of old and new is always within the framework of time. But when we refer to the self as being ancient, it is not with reference to time. It is that from which even the concept of time arose. Therefore, this ancient one, that Supreme Self, is timeless. Sri Shankaracharya explains the word Purana as that which, even though it is old, is ever new. How can a thing be old and new at the same time? This is possible only for something that is not conditioned by time. A timeless factor does not age. It is ever fresh, ever new. The implied meaning of Purana is, therefore, that which is ever new. Spiritual lessons. This absolute reality, self revealed by the Puranas, is also the theme of the Vedas and Upanishads. But the method of revealing is unique in the Puranas. They teach through stories, some of them are historical and others metaphorical, but they all are full of lessons. The Puranas themselves indicate which stories are symbolic. There is a difference between Itihas history and Puranas mythology. Mythology. Itihas is said to be Ghatana Pradhan, literature which is fact oriented because it is an account of historical facts and events as they took place. On the other hand, the Puranas are Shiksha Pradhan, education oriented. Herein, the stories are told in order to teach lessons. In a history book, one cannot include an imaginary story, but in the Puranas, this is done for a purpose. Yet, as we read them, we should not keep wondering whether the event did or did not take place. It may or may not have. In animal stories like tiger, lion, monkey, or fox, one need not ask how can a monkey speak human language. This is not the point. The question is what do we learn from the story? The five topics. The Puranas reveal the truth through the discussion of five major topics. Sarga, creation of the fundamental elements of the universe. Visarga or Pratisarga, creation of variety in the universe. Manvantara, the period of the Manu, the ministers of Dharma. Vamsha, the description of the lunar and solar dynasty. Vamshanacharitam, the lives of individuals born in these dynasties. Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is the creation of the elements, the fundamental particles of raw materials, from which all other things and beings of the universe are made. Thereafter, from these five elements, the entire variety of individual beings and things are created. This secondary creation is called pratisarga or visarga. To give an example, a potter cannot make different clay pots until and unless the clay already exists. Thus, the creation of clay would be called primary creation or sarga, and the different pots would be called secondary creation or pratisarga. The world is full of variety and plurality. This we see clearly. But from where has this plurality come? If we look at the material cause of all the different things, we see that they are made up of the same space, air, fire, water, and earth. All of us have in common a physical body, sense organs, mind, and intellect. But look how diverse they are. It is said that this creation of multiplicity is according to Swabhava and Karma, each individual's nature and action. Through this discussion of Sarga and Visarga, we are shown first the plurality of creation, thereafter, the plurality is reduced to its common factors, the five elements. We are led further to inquire into the origin of these common factors, and finally, it is said that all this has come out of the Paramatman, the Purana, the Supreme Self. In this way, the highest truth is indicated. Manvantara. The third topic of the Puranas is Manvantara. When we look at humanity as a whole, we notice the tendency to disobey both nature's laws and man made laws. Other living beings instinctively abide by nature's law, but a human being must be told what to do. He must know his dharma and how to live it. Just as there is a president or chairman in charge of the department of religion in the government or the universities, Manu is in charge of the universal department of religion and dharma. Each cycle during which one Manu rules over this creation is called a Manvantara. In the Hindu tradition, time is divided into four ages, yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. All four put together is called a Mahayuga, which is about 4 million years. 1000 Mahayuga constitutes one day of Lord Brahma, the Creator. In this one day, 14 Manus fulfill their terms. When a new Manu comes to rule, the whole heavenly cabinet, the presiding gods of the cosmic power, change. Therefore, the term of the deities Indra, Varun, Agni, and so on is only for one Manvantara. The Manu who is in charge during a particular time sees to it that dharma is followed by all in the world. He sometimes, as per need, makes new interpretations of dharma. How does he do this? He sends saints, sages, devotees, and other religious interpreters into the world to teach us the right way to live. Even today, when there is so much adharma in the world and people are indulgent and extroverted, there are still many who live a life of dharma and pursue spiritual knowledge. It is Manu who makes this possible. When we think of this vast flow of time indicated in the Puranas, our intellects become stunned. We cannot conceive of the beginning, middle, and end of time, space, and creation. The scriptures also say that this entire creation exists in one tiny particle of the Supreme Truth. To think of the infinite expanse of creation itself is mind boggling. to contemplate on the infinitude of the Lord beyond His creation forces our vision to expand even more. Thus, through Sarga, fundamental creation, and Pratisarga, particular creation, the truth is indicated. In the Manvantar, we are shown that by following Dharma, our minds will be purified and we will realize the self. Vansha and Vanshanucharita. The fourth topic in the Puranas is Vansha, meaning dynasties. We are told that there were two dynasties ruling the world, the Surya Vansha or solar dynasty and the Chandra Vansha or lunar dynasty. The stories of the kings, sages, rishis, and common people born into their born into these dynasties are described in fifth topic, Vanshanucharita. Many were great souls, many were not, some were wicked and some were ordinary people. What is the reason for describing these two dynasties and their stories? From the good people, we learn how we should live our lives, and from the wicked, we learn how to live our lives, how not to live our lives. Some who were wicked in the beginning and spent their time indulging in sense pleasures achieved greatness later through their associations with holy people. Therefore, we should not become depressed when we see negativities in ourselves. If some of these wicked or sincere people can become great, we too have hope. Means of knowledge. The Puranas are also a means of knowledge. Human life is meant for gaining knowledge, and in order to gain knowledge, we must have a means of knowledge. There are many means of knowledge. Pramanas. The three main ones are direct perception, pratyaksha, inference, anuman, and verbal testimony, shabda. We gather the knowledge of sound, color, form, taste, touch, and smell through direct perception. Inference is knowledge of the existence of a thing through the perception of something else. For instance, when we see smoke, we know there must be fire somewhere. Or if I see my friend's car outside a house, I can infer the presence of my friend inside. Shabda Praman gives us knowledge or information of an existing fact through the spoken or written word. For instance, if you receive a telegram that a family member is sick, you have neither inferred that fact nor seen it, but you have received the information through words. Most of us, our knowledge, in fact, is gained through Shabda. We have not directly pursued most of what we know. Our knowledge is of history, geography, and current events. For example, is to a great extent only through Shabda Praman. Both the Vedas and the Puranas are regarded as Shabda Praman. However, the speciality of the Puranas is that they are also Sambhava Pramana, a means to know the possibilities of things not yet seen or happened. Sambhava. We can know facts as they exist and from them imagine the possibility of other things. Sambhava. We read some certain stories in the Puranas and wonder whether such a thing can happen. For example, there is one story of a man who went to bathe in the lake, and when he came out, he was a woman. There is another story of a king who was a man for 6 months and of the year and a woman for the other 6 months. His subjects got fed up with the situation, as you can imagine. The point is that anything is possible. Today, science has advanced and one can do an operation for sex change. What is considered science fiction years ago has now become a reality. Even our mind's wildest imaginations have the possibility of becoming actualized. Perhaps they already exist somewhere or had existed before. Many times, fancy thoughts come into our minds which we take to be impossibilities. But later we discover that such things exist through books or TV. Then we realize that there is nothing that is impossible. Even science fiction books give rise to new ideas that set other scientists thinking and making it happen. Thus, the job of pramana is not only to reveal a thing as it is, but also to present the possibilities of many other things. We think certain things are impossible because we believe whatever little we know alone is what the world is. But we know that the expanse of the universe is endless. There are innumerable cosmoses. How many things could exist on different stars and planets? We see such a tiny limited part of the world and yet we make assumptions as if we knew this entire creation. But the many worlds and beings we read about in the Puranas are described only to ultimately realize the one truth which is the origin of this creation, the very substratum and sustaining factor of the world, and to which the whole world returns. The one reality. There are 18 Puranas in all. The Brahma Puran, the Shiva Puran, Vishnu Puran, Ganesh Puran, Garuda Puran, to name a few. In the Vishnu Puran, it is said that the absolute reality is Vishnu and that his entire creation, the forces of nature, that their presiding deities, and all other gods came out of Lord Vishnu. In the Shiva Puran, it is said that Shiva is the absolute reality and that creation came out of him. The same thing is said in the Ganesh Puran and all the others. When people read these apparently conflicting stories, they become very confused. But this confusion is because we think that the names Vishnu, Shiva, or Ganesh refer to different beings and not to the Lord in that particular form. The truth pointed out in all the Puranas is that there is only one absolute reality, Brahman, from which everything has emerged. In the Ganesh Puran, that reality will be indicated by the word Ganesh, while in the Shiva Puran, the name Shiva will be used to refer to that reality. Although all deities have a second identity as deity of a particular cosmic function, and are also known in their various incarnations on earth, that is, Vishnu as Rama and Krishna. Their absolute identity is the same. As it is said, truth is one. Sages call it by many names. When we realize this, we will not become confused. Along these same lines, an interesting story is told in the Shiva Puran about Lord Shiva's marriage. As was the custom then, Shiva, the groom, was asked, "What is your lineage? Who is your father?" Shiva replied, "My father is Lord Brahma." "Who is your grandfather?" Shiva said, "Vishnu is my grandfather." Finally, they asked, "Who is the father of Vishnu?" The Shiva replied, "I am the father of Vishnu." Lord Shiva is an individual entity, has a father or grandfather, but from the highest standpoint, he is the cause of this entire creation. In conclusion, Purana means ancient, timeless, and eternal. The Puranic literature reveals this timeless reality by a unique method of storytelling, which is Shiksha Pramana, education pradhan oriented. The Puranas are also Sambhava Pramana, a means by which we come to know things not only as they are, but also the possibility of things which could exist in other place and time. It is only the highest reality that is revealed through the five topics of the Purana, that is Sarga, Pratisarga, Manvantara, Vamsha, and Vamshanucharita. The same reality is indicated in all 18 Puranas, though by different names such as Shiva, Vishnu, Ganesh, and so on. This, in brief, is the essence of Puranika literature. In this way, the reading of the book Hindu Culture and Introduction, written by Param Poojya Guruji Swami Tejomayananda ji, is over. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Shri Sadgurunath Maharaj ki Jai.